Rappers who knew each other before the fame. The celebrity world is pretty cutthroat. To get ahead, you could never fully trust anyone. And that goes for Hollywood actors, social media influencers, and even musicians. No matter how convincing their collaborations are, most artists just aren't actually close with each other behind the scenes. That's why we've seen so many rappers turn friendships into beefs over the years. Most rappers prefer to take the no new friends route. While they will publicly be seen with other artists, they tend to hang out with the people that live outside of the limelight. Staying with the people you've always known is just simpler than becoming tight with people in the industry. But there are some rappers who have been friends with other musicians since long before they were all famous. And despite the fact that fame can sometimes tear people apart, these artists use their shared passion to grow stronger together. Other times, rappers just happen to know each other before making it big due to sheer coincidence. Before we start the video though, make sure to click that like button and subscribe to our channel. Now, here are 8 rappers who knew each other before the fame. Number 8, Fetty Wap and Monty. In 2015, Fetty Wap was completely inescapable. Songs like Trap Queen and 679 were on constant rotation on every rap radio station, and he instantly went from being unknown to being one of the most popular rappers of the year. And anyone who knew Fetty also knew about Monty, his partner in crime on several of his biggest hits. He even showed up on Fetty Wap's debut album a total of 7 times. Although he never really ended up developing his own solo career, he still enjoyed the spotlight thanks to Fetty. If you're curious as to why Fetty Wap was so adamant about featuring a relatively unpopular Monty on his songs, it's because the two of them have been good friends since long before Trap Queen. According to a 2016 interview, Monty and Fetty met at a chicken store in the hood around 2006 or so. They both lived in Paterson, New Jersey, and they just naturally ran into each other. Interestingly, they actually had the opportunity to meet even earlier than that. They went to the same school, Eastside High School, but they never ran into one another. Once they linked later on though, they were both focused on creating music and getting to a better situation. Fetty even gifted a car to Monty after they blew up, proving that their relationship was as real as it gets. Number 7, Busta Rhymes. Whether you bump their music or not, you can't escape the fact that both Jay-Z and Busta Rhymes have an insane amount of influence on hip-hop. They've both grown into legends of the rap game from relatively similar beginnings. They both grew up in similar areas, moved in some of the same circles, and started releasing music around the same time. But there's something you might not know. Jay-Z and Busta Rhymes knew each other long before either of them started to make waves in the New York rap scene. These two MCs actually went to high school with each other. And not only that, but they actually got into a rap battle at the school. Busta spoke about this in an interview, saying that Hove ended up beating him because he had already begun to master the art of rapping quickly, something that Busta would later go on to be known for. The battle is still clear in his mind. According to him, Jay was, quote, doing it at an incredible level of skill set, and was displaying that shit like water spilling all over the place. Although Busta wanted a rematch, it never actually happened, and he was just left feeling inspired by Jay-Z's prowess. It's funny to think about how much of this probably influenced the young rapper, giving him motivation to continue improving alongside Jay. Number 6, Smoke Perp and Lil Pump. The underground rap scene has changed a lot in the past few years. Artists that have come and gone, and the way of climbing the ranks has shifted from SoundCloud to TikTok. But in the prime days of the SoundCloud era, there were 2 artists that showed that taking an incredibly simple approach to music could work out: Lil Pump and Smoke Perp. Before Gucci Gang catapulted Pump into worldwide infamy, he was making waves on SoundCloud alongside Smoke Perp. Both of them had similar styles of repetitive raps and distorted beats, and they frequently collaborated on songs with one another. Their rises to fame paralleled each other's, and that's because they're literally best friends. Both Pump and Perp grew up in Florida, and they met while they were in grade school. Pump's cousin introduced him to Perp, and it wasn't long before Perp was making beats for his new friend to rap on. And although they began to make music together early on in their friendship, it's clear that it's deeper than rap. In an interview with Hot New Hip Hop, Smoke Perp said about Pump, quote, "That's my best friend, my brother. We grew up together. You know what I'm saying? We're never on bad terms, that's my brother. We talk every single day." Number 4, Migos. At this point, the Migos have nothing to prove. After humble beginnings in 2011, they broke through with songs like Bando and Versace. and became massive superstars. They reconfigured the sound of Atlanta trap music, popularized the triplet flow, and collaborated with the biggest names in rap. And it all started thanks to family ties. The three Migos are basically brothers. Okay, it's actually a little more complicated than that. Quavo is technically the uncle of Takeoff, and Offset is Quavo's cousin. They were raised together in the same Atlanta household though, and they grew up listening to the same music and creating plans to become famous. Takeoff would even record songs just to play for the other Migos. He once said, quote, "I'd wait for Quavo to get back from football practice and I'd play my songs for him." This led them to create Migos in 2008, and since then their trajectory has only been upwards. Rap groups in general are pretty rare, and it's even more unusual for a trio like the Migos to all rise to fame together, after being quite literally unknown. To them, that makes their situation very different from other rappers, and it's one of the reasons why they've succeeded. When asked about it in an interview with Fader, Offset said, quote, "A lot of groups they get put together, but we don't even think of each other as a group." And when asked about why it's so great that they're a group, Takeoff summed it up well. Quote, "We got 3 different styles. It's way better than having one." Number 3, Drake and SZA. In many ways, Drake has built his brand on the idea of staying true to the people you knew before you became famous. He's the definition of no new friends. He even made a song about it with DJ Khaled. So it's clear that Drake is still hanging out with the guys he's known since day one. And most of them are not famous rappers, or even famous at all. But there is one musician that Drake managed to get a connection with before she became famous, SZA. In fact, the two of them dated a few years before either of them grew to be celebrities. The timeline is actually a bit strange because their relationship occurred in 2009. At that time, Drake was living in Canada and only just started getting recognition. SZA, on the other hand, was living in America and wouldn't even be discovered for another 2 years. How did they end up meeting each other? No one really knows. They have barely talked about it publicly aside from a lyric from Drake and a tweet from SZA, so it remains pretty mysterious. But it's an interesting example of how small the world really is. Even people who go on to become global sensations might just run into each other before their big breaks. And they might even date each other. Number 2, Lil Bibby and G Herbo. When it comes to rapper friendships, Lil Bibby and G Herbo's is about as tight as it gets. You may just know them from their frequent collaborations. They've been teasing a collab album called No Limitations for years now, and they've always appeared on each other's songs. But they've actually had a very deep history together, one that goes back to when they were kids. The duo met when they were attending the same youth center in Chicago. They shared an interest in drill music, so they started recording themselves rapping on their phones. Speaking about those early days, Bibby said, quote, "It was just me and Herb, and a few of my other homies. We were just doing it for fun." This eventually led them to recording Kill Shit, which catapulted both of them towards fame. Although they felt a bit of unhealthy competition at the beginning of both of their careers, things have changed quite a bit. G Herbo has continued growing in the rap game, but Bibby has since pivoted towards someone being more involved behind the scenes, discovering artists like Juice WRLD and The Kid Laroi. Despite so much being different now, these two still remain quite close. In fact, they were even discussing finishing up a joint album as recently as 2021, so it may actually end up coming out someday. Number 1, Young Thug and Lil Baby. In terms of sheer influence, few rappers are more important to the modern hip-hop scene than Young Thug. So many rappers sound like him these days that it's not an understatement to say that he has reshaped the entire genre. This is partially because so many have taken his ideas and ran with them, but it's also due to the fact that he used his own fame to help several of his friends secure their own rap careers. Thug's tendency towards putting on his proteges shouldn't come as a surprise. His Slime Language series of mixtapes are more about his homies than him, and up-and-comers like Young K.O. and Lil Keed shows that he still has plenty more rappers to introduce us to. But Thug's biggest success story in terms of starting a friend's career is definitely Lil Baby. He may be known as one of rap's most poppin' stars these days, but there was a point where Lil Baby was just another guy stuck in a cycle of tragedy in the hood. And interestingly enough, he didn't even have an interest in rapping. Young Thug spoke about their relationship in an interview, saying that he knew Lil Baby from living in a similar neighborhood as him. Thug saw him go to jail and then go back to a dangerous lifestyle lifestyle after being released, so he decided to intervene. He started literally paying Lil Baby to rap so that he could make it out of his current situation and avoid more jail time. It wasn't just that Thug saw potential in his friend, but he actually put his own livelihood on the line to save someone from his own neighborhood. If that doesn't show you he cares about the people he considers family, I don't think anything will. Do you know of any other rappers who knew each other before becoming famous? Let me know in the comments. And before you leave, don't forget to click the like button and subscribe to our channel.